I think we're back on. Okay, so welcome. I'm Heather Freeman. We're going to start this again. I'm Heather Freeman. Is beautiful. Even in the mess, even when things get crazy, there are still beautiful moments to celebrate. And so thanks for joining me here today. I am so happy to be here with you. And I just want to let you know also, I'm also a guest artist in the Great Artist event, Shine Your Love. So if you're not a part of that, I'm hoping one of my friends will post the link in the comments so that you can be a part of that, because that's happening all week. It's amazing people sharing their creativity with you and giving you an opportunity to play. So I encourage you to join that. Martina, hello again. Yay. Hi, Deborah. So glad to see you back. Thanks for hanging and tuning back in. So yeah, so life gets messy. Right now, the past 45 minutes, I've been getting messy with my technical issues. You know, things don't always go the way we think. And so today especially, you know, just with everything going on, life continues to be challenging in so many different ways. Can you just let me know? Can you give your thumbs up or let me know that the sound is working? Because earlier that was not working. So I just want to make sure that that's working. Okay for you all. And so let's get started. So I brought along some of my favorite supplies. Hi, so glad you got it worked out. Me too, Lisa. So glad you're here. So I brought along some of my favorite supplies. If you've ever painted with me before, you know that anything goes. So I love getting in, painting, and having fun. When I'm working in my sketchbook, I tend to use kind of my Liquitex or my craft paints. But when so today, you know, I pulled out some of my favorite colors. I've got some pinks and some turquoise. Usually bring along a white and a black too. Today I have, you can use a Sharpie. I actually have a Posca pen, which has been really fun. I've been playing with these lately. Super fun to play with, but any black pen will work. I've also got some paintbrushes, just a couple of various smaller size paintbrushes, because today I'm working smaller in my sketchbook. Whatever you want to paint on is a go, right? So I love working in my sketchbook when I'm playing and trying out some new techniques. But you are more than welcome if you've got a small canvas, like I have this little guy here, it's a little 6x6. But I love like just kind of working in my sketchbook, especially when it just gives me the chance to like let loose a little bit more than sometimes on a canvas. So got that. If you want to work on wood, you could work on wood or canvas or paper, whatever you have. Thanks for sprinkling, Deborah. That's so sweet of you. Lots of echo. Are you in your studio? So I was going to be in my studio this morning, and I am in a collaborative space, which is super awesome. So there's 20 of us in this collaborative space, and some other artists were in there today making some noise, so I was worried about that noise. So I came into one of the conference rooms in the building, and unfortunately there's a bit of echo, and I don't know how to get rid of it. So we're gonna have to deal with that today. And I also have, this building is amazing. There's so much energy in this building. So there's like a Montessori school here. So there might be some kids that walk by and kind of poke their face in the window because they were all excited because I have like my light up and everything. And so they were like, oh my gosh, what's going on in there? So it's kind of fun. Like the energy here is awesome. It doesn't make for the best, you know, video recording all the time, but it's what I got. So it's what I'm working with. But, yeah, so that's where I'm at. That's kind of how I work, and I love it. But it has its downsides. so I went over the paper. You can work on whatever canvas, whatever paints you have, and whatever you have is good enough, right? Like sometimes we're like, oh, all I have is craft paint. Well, great, use it. Like it's more important to do the creativity and express yourself than not. So don't let any of these things, if I have anything that you're like intimidated by any means, do not let it stop you, because that's not what this is about. I also have with me today, I think I had mentioned using a stencil, but I actually grabbed a stamp. So I've got a little cork from a bottle of champagne that I popped for my first commission piece, and I use this quite often. And then I got a little thing of water. Isn't this sweet? My friend sent that to me. Little Create, love that. And I've got a paint palette, and this one is super fun. So you can use a paper plate. You could use a piece of wax paper is great to use. I have these little enamel. People always ask me about these. These are super fun. It's just, they're fun to work on, and they're fun, like, once the paint dries, you can actually, like, peel the paint off. And I love mixed media, so, like, I love texture in my paintings and a lot of movement, so sometimes I'll take these little peelings off when the paint dries, because it's acrylic, so it's plastic, basically, and use them in my paintings, so that's super fun. And then I brought along a piece of parchment paper, which again, if you don't have, we can just use regular paper, that's fine. But this is fun because it gives like a different kind of texture with the paint, some scissors, so I can cut out some hearts. So this is kind of like my demo, like this is what I was playing with yesterday and kind of when I was thinking about what I wanted to do. And funny, I popped on here this morning and Amy from Sugar Hill Studio was doing something similar, so I love it. Like we're just throwing on the love today. I love that she does something similar and with a heart and mixed media. And so hopefully what I show you here today is kind of in addition to what some of the things that she shared with you. So all of us, you know, artists, we all have different ways of approaching the canvas, of doing different techniques. So I'm hoping that you'll learn something different from me and be able to put it together and do some neat things. So, you guys ready? Jamie said it's all good. Awesome. All right, let's dive in. So I'm going to put a little bit of paint down. And I'm just in love with pink and kind of this bluey green these days. A lot of my paintings that I'm working on right now have this color combo, and I'm going to be releasing a collection of original work in the next month or so. So if you want to stay tuned and see what that's all about, you can sign up on my webpage for Painted Playground, and I'll be sure to email you once that is coming out. So I've got a couple paints. And the first thing that I want to do actually is, you know, life is beautiful, like I said, but it does get messy. And this is all about love and connection, and this is a way that, you know, art can really be therapeutic and reconnect us with who we are and who we want to be. And so when life gets messy and I start to feel down, I'm like, that's not how I want to be. Like, I naturally want to be an optimistic, you know, hopeful person. And so one of the ways that I get back to that person is, can I move the camera down? Yes, I can. How's that? That's probably better. And I will shift this way. And then how about I put I will pop this up every now and then. We don't need that right now. We're good. So the first step I want you to think about doing is, you know, just is reconnecting with that sense of love and play and doing that by expressing that on the canvas. And so I'm going to invite you to take your black pen, your black Sharpie, and you could simply write the word love across your canvas, all over your canvas, any way that you choose. Big letters, little letters, mix up the type of letters that you write. You could even write yourself a love note. or write a friend a love note. You know, just saying that you care. It doesn't have to be anyone that you're passionate or in love with, but it could be a friend. It could be anyone. But I do know that like taking care of ourselves is super important. So if you want to write yourself a love note, I would say go for it. So I'm just gonna start writing on my canvas, and this is like the first layer. Most likely, you're not going to see much of it. You actually get to choose how much of it you want to share and you want to be seen in the end. So right now, we're just like, you can give yourself the freedom to write whatever you want, however much you want to write it, okay? So it could be just simple, just the simple word love all over the place. Maybe you have a poem about love, self-love, or loving someone else that you would want to write on your canvas. But really, this is like a moment to like especially like when I keep writing love, 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 it's like every time I write it, I just feel a little bit more like, yeah, I'm getting into that space of my heart feels a little bit better. I feel a little bit better. Even like writing the word connection, connecting with love. Maybe I'll write love over here. Big letters, little letters. Today I am loving myself. Let's talk about that for a second. Some people say, like, loving yourself, oh, that's so selfish. It is not. You gotta love yourself first if you ever want to love anyone or anything else. Love, love. Maybe at this point you want to turn on some music, plug in your headphones, listen to your favorite love music. Right? We're just kind of letting ourselves go right at the moment to get into that heart space of love. All right. Kind of filled up my page. It's bright. Switch this light a little bit. Not so bright. There we go. I just filled it up. And now what I want to do, down to, just got little pads of color. So this is our first layer. Love. And now I'm just going to play around and make some marks. Again, anything goes. Add more water to it, it turns more into like a watercolor. This is super freeing, just to lay down some color. Again, we're like not worried about like, where is this going? What am I doing with this? We're not worrying about that at all. We're just loving this pink. I want you to love whatever color you're putting down. Could be blue, it could be purple, whatever that mood is that you're feeling at the moment. Just pick that color. I'm going to grab a little bit of this lighter pink, smush that around, and it just feels good to smush paint, right? I'm going to add some white to this. I might just kind of start doing another paint stroke. So like before I was doing a lot of swirls, now I'm just kind of doing kind of some big lines, kind of some thicker lines, because I'm just laying it down. Words are kind of getting covered up right now, but I can still see a lot of those love words popping through. Okay, we're just starting to add those layers on. I'm going to pause for just a second and take my heat gun and get this dried just a little bit because I want to retain some of those marks that I just made. And if I keep going, it's just going to smush into one big blob. So if you have a hair dryer, you can use that. It works just the same, it just doesn't push out all that air. And I'll tell you, I can be a very impatient painter. So I love to keep moving, like I'm all about the movement and getting that energy out. And so I don't like to wait for paint to dry. And so sometimes I'll just take a piece of paper towel and I'll just blot out what I'm working on in different areas. And that'll add its own bit of texture. So rather than get annoyed with myself for being impatient, I'm like, well, let it work to your advantage. And see, that just pulled off some of the paint and kind of left this kooky texture underneath. So I love that. Love it, love it, love it. Love texture, love just the different marks. Okay, cool. So now I think I'm going to go in and add some more white. I might pick up a different paintbrush, although I didn't bring. Maybe I'll just add some circles. So just doing some pattern work, love pattern, like sometimes it just kind of, painting can be so meditative and relaxing. Got some circles going on. I'm going to pop this again. My heat gun. Part two. All right, cool. So now I'm going to go back to my, just feeling like going back to my really rich magenta. Maybe doing some, again, just adding on more and more texture. Just makes it interesting. I feel like it's very symbolic of who we are as people. You know, all those layers, we are many layers. We have so many layers to us, so many different aspects to ourselves. So I'm just pushing it down, just a different kind of mark. Show you. Right, just another layer. Go. And again, I've got some thicker paint up here, which sometimes, you know, would just using the paint as it is. Other times I'll add something like molding paste. It'll help retain some of that chunkiness. But today, because I want to keep things moving for you, I'm going to just blot this out. And you get all this funky stuff happening. All right. Sweet. Let's see, I think I'm going to add some more white. This time I might get a little crazy and just go straight onto the canvas. Right? I got it on there, and what do I want to do? What do I want to do? With what I have, I'm going to keep this simple for you. So I think I'm going to use this part of the paintbrush and just push things through. Okay. Oh yeah. That was definitely worth doing. Fun. Do with the color you're using. You're like, ugh, that color, I don't like it. Well, that's okay. You stop where you're at, you let it dry. Because we're working with acrylics, you paint right over it and pick a color that you do like. Or if you're doing a technique and you're like, whoa, that's not, I don't like that, then you just stop and you assess, and you want to keep following the good feels. That's what it's all about. So now my writing underneath, there's still little pieces popping up, which is really cool because it kind of brings your eye around. But for the most part, Harry, well, hello from Nevada. Fascinating. What's happening in Nevada? Oh, it's crazy. So seriously, something as simple as a paper towel can give you some really cool texture. So just never dismiss anything. You don't have to be working with like high-end crazy texture tools or anything like that. Like, so I'm going to set this aside for just a minute because I want to show you a way that we can make our focal point, which is our heart today. Now, I love this turquoise, so we're going to do this on, I have some parchment paper with me, just, it's out of my kitchen. I actually made it the other night and I didn't have it because it was in my studio. What do you know? But anyway, let's take our parchment, let's put this aside, I'll let this dry just another minute or two, and show you. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what side you do this on, but I'm just going to take some of my turkey. Getting crazy, getting crazy. Yeah, I always make a mess. Whether I'm in the kitchen cooking, I don't know if anybody else makes messes, but I definitely make a mess whenever I'm painting. I usually have a ton of paint on my hands. I am not afraid to get messy. That's what's fun about painting for me. Okay, so I've got my turquoise straight from the bottle. I've got this little roller pin. If you don't have this, you can just simply brush some paint on here, right? We're just going to brush it on, and then, again, you can take your paper towel and lift some of that roller. Add a little bit of water, just make it move a little bit more. It's a little bit stiff right now. Putting this paint down. I think I need a little bit more paint. But it's cool because what happens with the parchment is when there's spots left open, you can see through. So this is going to be really fun. Cool. That's great. Okay, we're going to let that dry. Pop this on real quick. So, a few things that we can do, when life gets hard is, really taking care of ourselves and protecting ourselves from some of that craziness, right? It's not selfish. We don't have to let all that negativity come in. So if we need to, we can turn off. Just going to add a little bit more. Whatever you need to do. All right. And just like in our painting, when I paint, it's part of my painting process, is looking for the things that you love. So even when it's tough and difficult, there's still things that we can love, no matter what the situation, no matter what your painting is, there's still parts that there are to love. So looking for those good things. I'm going to grab my scissors. This is pretty dry. Maybe not. One more heat. It's so important to do something kind, whether it's for yourself, so taking time to paint and get creative, doing something kind for somebody else, so making something and sharing it with somebody else, or giving somebody a good comment. The more things that we do to feel good, we can change that tide, and the world will feel better too. Okay, let's see. Just gonna make this a little bit smaller. I'm just gonna lightly fold it in half because I want to make a little heart. Something I think we forget to do too is saying no to those situations that are negative, that don't feel good. Sometimes we tend to say yes to things that might not be the best for us. So it's okay to say no and to say no to either situations or people, right? Anyone agree with that? That are negative. So this is really fun because you can use either side. So just play around. One is kind of more matte because the paint is on the other side. One is just more shiny. So play around with what you like. I was thinking I would make the same size, but this heart's a bit smaller. So if I wanted to go the same size, I would make this smaller. But this is just playing around, so I'm going to keep it like that. We'll do that. We'll just keep it. I'll just keep it big. Yeah, that's cool. I do like that little circle that I did too. So I'm gonna make a little circle. So yeah, so depending on what you're working on, you can play around with the composition and where you want to place your heart. So this little guy is a 6 by 6, which I cut out from my sketchbook when I was playing around with this yesterday. And I put the heart in the center and dot there. But because I'm going to keep this big, I'm just going to keep this like this, I'm thinking you can play around with where you want it. Typically don't want things right in the center. You can always break the rules, but typically when working, you want to work in thirds and create a focal point. So I'm going to put my heart right there. So I did not bring my glue, so I am just going to use my paint. I have extra paint here. And yesterday when I did this, I was working kind of fast, so my area was still a bit wet with paint, and I just laid it on that. I'm just going to add a little paint. Just seal it down with the paint behind it. And it's cool because, like I said, some of that paint comes through. So that's pretty fun. Again, with my little dot. Press that down. Alright. And you can do something kind for yourself or somebody else as a daily practice, right? Like it's a daily practice there's always stuff going on in the world that's going to be crazy and wild and maybe bothersome and hard to see. So we got to take care of ourselves every day. So make it a regular practice. And you can do that. You can start that this week, if you don't do it already, by getting into that great artist group and hanging out with some really awesome ladies that are sharing their art and creativity. So here we go. Got that heart on there. Here we go. There. Okay. Sweet. I was making some hot tea and missed what the heart is made from. Tissue paper. You could use tissue paper. That's a great idea. I used parchment paper, which might be more accessible to some people. A lot of people have that in their kitchen already. So I used parchment paper, which is super fun because with this heart, I didn't do a solid paint color with this, although you could, if that made you happy, use a solid paint color. But I just rolled some paint on, and then I can see some of those areas underneath. So I can still see some of that pink and white. So I'm just going to do like a couple of little finishing touches here. I think I'm going to outline the outline, or just a little shadow on that dot. A little outline on my heart. not the whole heart. You could keep going with this. If you had like more pens or even more paint, different paint colors, you could, wait, I didn't use my stamp. I was going to use my stamp. See, like that's kind of the fun of this process is that you take things out, sometimes you use them, sometimes you don't, but at least they're there if you want to play with them. And so for this, I forgot to use my stamp, but you could easily take some take some color and just kind of pop it around. That's pretty cool. You can do it on top, it's awesome. Actually, I really like that. That worked out just fine. So here's your little heart. And this one, you know, I kept it as a big one, but I wanted to give you some ideas of how you could take this further. So you could take it further by like painting it more, right? And like adding more detail and adding more little different marks. You can always do that. This one I cut out because I thought, well, this would make a sweet little card for somebody. You could send it as is. You could write a little note on the back, either to yourself or to someone else, and pop it up somewhere and just have something sweet to look at, right? And to make you feel better. Art does that. That's what I love about art. So you could do that. You could even take this and you could mount it onto a canvas. So even if you did it on paper and you wanted to mount it onto something, you could mount it onto canvas and it'll be a little bit more bulky, and then you could hang it on the wall. So, oh, thanks, Jamie. Thanks for sharing the Facebook group for the Great Artist event. Awesome. So thanks for joining me here today. Love seeing you all here, whether you're watching live or watching the replay. It's nice to be able to connect with people and share the love. So thanks for hanging out with me. And if you want to know more about what I'm doing, I do some classes throughout the year and also sell some original artwork. So you can subscribe to my email list at thepaintedplayground.com. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Okay,